My parents gave my sister a luxury villa and left me an empty parking lot. You can always sleep under the stars, they snickered. But when I turned it into a business, they wanted to share. I should have known this dinner was a setup. My parents never invited me over unless they had a reason, usually to remind me how much of a disappointment I was. But I went anyway, because deep down, I still had that stupid hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. I work as a mechanic. Nothing fancy, but I'm good at it. I fix things, I get paid, I mind my own business. Meanwhile, my sister Emily, she's their perfect little angel. Never worked a real job in her life, always had everything handed to her. She could burn their house down, and they'd still find a way to blame me for it. So, I walk in, and Emily's already there, sipping wine like she owns the place. Dad's at the table, flipping through the newspaper. Mom's in the kitchen, pretending to be busy so she doesn't have to look at me too much. Wow, Emily smirks. You actually showed up. What, took the night off from changing tires? I ignore her and sit down. Mom said it was important. Dad finally folds his newspaper. It is. We've decided to divide our assets. Emily lights up instantly. She already knows she's getting something big. Mom smiles at her. We're giving you the beach house, sweetheart. Emily gasps, clutching her chest like she's won an Oscar. Oh my God. The one in Monterey. Mom nods. Yes, honey. It's yours now. I sit there, waiting. There's got to be something for me too, right? Dad turns to me, expression flat. And you, Logan? We're giving you the parking lot. Silence. I blink. The, what? The old lot on 8th Street, Mom says, waving a hand like she's doing me a favor. It's land. You can figure something out. Emily bursts out laughing. Oh my God, that is hilarious. She turns to me with a smirk. Well, at least you'll always have a place to sleep. Under the stars. Dad chuckles. That lot's been empty for years, but hey, maybe you can open a lemonade stand or something. Mom sighs. Logan, you always say you want to build something for yourself. Now's your chance. I stare at them. This wasn't even an insult disguised as kindness. This was straight up garbage. A memory flashes in my head, me at 16, coming home covered in grease from my first job at the auto shop. I'd been so proud. I walked in, holding my first paycheck, excited to show them I was working hard. Emily was on the couch, whining about wanting a new car for her birthday. Dad didn't even look at me. You're gonna smell like oil for the rest of your life, huh? Mom shook her head. Well, at least he's useful. Maybe one day he'll fix your car for free, Emily. She never had to. They bought her a brand new BMW that same week. And now here we were, years later, and nothing had changed. I take a slow breath and push back from the table. You're serious? Dad shrugs. You should be grateful we're giving you anything. Emily snickers. Maybe one day you'll make enough money to buy a real property. They start laughing like this is the funniest thing in the world. I grip the edge of the chair so hard my knuckles turn white. But I don't yell. I don't argue. I just nod. Okay. Mom frowns. That's it. No thank you. I stand up. Oh, I'll make something of it. I look at Emily. And when I do, don't come knocking. She rolls her eyes. Sure, Logan. Can't wait to see what you do with a slab of concrete. Dad shakes his head, muttering, always so dramatic. I walk out without another word. Fine. They thought they could humiliate me? I'd turn that worthless parking lot into something they'd never see coming. And when I did, they'd regret every word. I stood in front of that parking lot, staring at it like it was some kind of sick joke. Cracked pavement, weeds growing through the asphalt, a rusted old sign that barely clung to its post. My parents didn't just screw me over, they laughed while doing it. Fine. They wanted me to fail. I'd make sure they choked on their own words. The next morning, I filed for permits to allow food trucks. If this was nothing but a slab of concrete, then I'd make sure it was a profitable slab of concrete. Within a week, I had contracts with some of the best local food truck owners. Tacos, burgers, coffee, even some overpriced vegan bowls for the hipsters. I took out a small loan, not from a bank, but from my boss at the auto shop, a guy who actually believed in hard work. I used it to set up lights, seating, music, and banners to turn the place into something real. 3 weeks later, that useless parking lot? It was now a full-blown food court with live music and lines around the block. And that's when the fun started. About a month in, after the place had gone viral on social media, I saw her. Mom. She showed up in her expensive coat, looking around like she had just walked into a garbage dump. I was checking inventory when she approached. So, this is what you've done. she said, wrinkling her nose at the crowd enjoying their meals. I didn't even bother looking at her. Yeah, well, you gave me trash, so I made it work. She exhaled sharply, clearly unimpressed. This isn't a real business, she said. It's just a phase, right? I laughed. A phase that's making more money than Emily's influencer career. Her face twitched, and as if on cue, Emily rounded the corner. She stopped dead in her tracks, her usual smug look vanishing as she took in the place. What on earth? She snapped. You turned this into some kind of, what is this? A flea market. I grinned. It's called a successful business. She scoffed. This is a joke. This isn't real money. I gestured around. Yeah? Then why are hundreds of people spending their fake money here every night? A few customers actually clapped. Emily's face turned red. Mom, say something, she whined. Mom cleared her throat. Logan, we're just concerned. This doesn't seem stable. I raised an eyebrow. Stable? Like the fully furnished beach house you handed Emily for free. Emily cut in quickly. You can't sell this. This is family property. I let out a short laugh. Oh, now it's family property? That's funny. When you were all laughing at me, I don't remember hearing family in the conversation. Her jaw clenched. This isn't fair, she snapped. You didn't earn this. I slowly turned to face her. You're seriously saying that to me? She crossed her arms, but her confidence wavered. I'm just saying, selling it would be betraying the family. I tilted my head. When you dumped it on me as a joke, that wasn't betrayal? Mom looked like she was searching for something to say. Then she finally found it. Well, she said carefully, if this business is doing so well, maybe we should discuss a partnership. I stared at her. Then I laughed. Loud. So loud, a few customers turned to see what was happening. You're kidding, right? I asked. You ignored me, humiliated me, gave me nothing, and now that I made something out of it, you want a piece? Emily crossed her arms. It's family money now. I took a step forward and looked her dead in the eye. You already got your share, I said coldly. Live with it. And then, without another word, I turned my back on them and walked straight into my business, leaving them standing there like statues. They thought they could break me, but I was just getting started. It started with a phone call. I was in my office, a small converted shipping container at the edge of my thriving food truck business, when my phone buzzed. Mom. I stared at the screen for a second before declining the call. A minute later, another one. Then another. I smirked. They needed something. By now, my food truck park was the hottest spot in town. We had live music, weekend events, VIP sections, and influencers lining up to get in. I was pulling in more money in a month than I used to make in a year at the auto shop. And suddenly, my family, who had laughed in my face, couldn't stop calling. A few days later, I was at the lot overseeing a delivery when I heard a voice that made my skin crawl. Logan. I turned around. Emily. She stood there, her arms crossed, but she didn't look smug this time. She looked desperate. I raised an eyebrow. Well, you actually came to the parking lot. What, did your car break down? She exhaled sharply. I need to talk to you. I checked my watch. I got 5 minutes. Make it count. Her jaw clenched, but she swallowed her pride. I need to sell the beach house. I blinked. The same beach house you gloated about? She ignored that. The market is trash right now, and I need money fast. I smirked. Let me guess, too many luxury vacations, designer bags, and overpriced lattes? She stiffened. It's complicated, she muttered. Just say you'll help. I leaned against a food truck, crossing my arms. Help? How? She hesitated. I need $200,000 to cover debts before I can even list it. I whistled. Oh man, that's rough. I turned back to my delivery and waved over the driver. Anyway, good luck with that. She grabbed my arm. Are you serious? You have the money. I pulled away. Oh, now my business is real enough for you to beg for a loan? Her face turned red. Logan, we're family. I laughed. Funny. Last time we talked, you told me I was a joke. Where's all that energy now? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I'll pay you back, she finally said, voice quieter. Please. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I leaned in and said, no. Her eyes widened. No. I smiled. That's right. The same way you and Mom and Dad said no when I needed support. The same way you all laughed in my face. So, no, Emily. I won't bail you out. She took a step back, actually shocked. Then her rage came flooding in. Are you serious? You're just going to let me fail? I shrugged. That's not my problem. And I walked away. But it wasn't over. A week later, I pulled into my lot and saw my parents standing there. Mom looked irritated. Dad just looked tired. Logan, Mom started, we need to talk. I sighed. Let me guess. Emily ran crying to you, and now you're here to talk some sense into me. Mom pursed her lips. This is a serious situation. Dad finally spoke. We need your help, son. I raised an eyebrow. Son? Oh, now I was a son again? Mom sighed. Your father's business isn't doing well. We're in financial trouble. I fought the urge to smile. Oh, I said, acting surprised. You mean the family that handed my sister a mansion and gave me a piece of concrete is struggling? Who could have seen that coming? Mom's nostrils flared. Don't be childish, Logan. I tilted my head. Childish? Like, laughing in someone's face when they're struggling? Dad groaned. We don't need a lecture. We need a loan. There it was. The golden moment. I rubbed my chin. How much? Mom swallowed. 500,000. I actually laughed. No way. 500,000. Dad nodded, looking exhausted. You're successful now. You can afford it. I crossed my arms. Oh, so now I'm successful? Mom snapped. Don't be a brat, Logan. We are your family. I let that hang in the air. Then I smiled. Let me tell you something about family. I took a step closer. Family doesn't mock you when you're struggling. Another step. Family doesn't treat you like a joke. And one more. Family doesn't show up only when they need something. Mom's face turned pale. Dad muttered, Logan, please. I exhaled and shook my head. You made your choices. I gestured to my lot, my success, my empire, and I made mine. Then I stepped back. I'm not giving you a cent. Mom gasped. You ungrateful person. I held up a hand. No, we're done. I turned to go. Logan, Dad called. If you walk away from this. I paused. Turned back. If I walk away? I repeated. You mean, like you walked away from me? Silence. Then I nodded. That's what I thought. And I left them standing there. Next part. My revenge wasn't just saying no. It was making sure they watched me win. I thought I was done with them. I made myself crystal clear. No money, no help, no second chances. But people like my parents and Emily? They don't take no well. And sure enough, a few days later, they came back swinging. It started small. Bad reviews online. I was checking my phone when I saw the first one. 1 star. This place is overrated. Food is overpriced, and the owner is incredibly rude. Avoid. Then another. 1 star. My experience was terrible. The staff is unprofessional, and the entire place smells like garbage. And another. 1 star. Do not support this business. The owner is a selfish, ungrateful person who doesn't care about family. I chuckled. Nice try, Mom. She always had this habit of playing the victim. First, she'd throw you under the bus, then act like the injured party. I could already picture her sitting in the kitchen, angrily typing out fake reviews between sips of her overpriced wine. But they didn't stop there. A few days later, a city inspector showed up. Anonymous complaint, he said, looking almost embarrassed. Someone reported that your permits might not be up to code. I nodded. Let me guess. A middle-aged woman and her spoiled daughter. The guy scratched his head. I can't say who filed it, but something tells me you already know. I knew exactly who it was. And then another complaint came in, this time about my seating area allegedly violating space requirements. Then one about noise levels. Then another about food safety. They were trying to bury me in legal red tape, drown me in fines. They wanted to kill my business before it could grow any bigger. But here's the thing, I'm not that easy to break. Instead of panicking, I fought back. I hired a lawyer. Every permit, every license, every single regulation was checked, rechecked, and locked down so tight that even the city inspector admitted there was nothing wrong. I doubled my marketing. If they wanted to ruin my reputation, I drowned them out with positivity. I started running special events, giveaways, live performances. I reached out to local influencers, inviting them to VIP tasting nights. I expanded. If they thought I was a problem before, they had no idea what was coming. I rented extra space next door to open an outdoor beer garden. I partnered with local artists to set up weekend craft markets. I turned their little sabotage attempt into free publicity. And business boomed. Then Emily made the biggest mistake of her life. It was a Saturday night, the busiest night of the week. The air was buzzing with music, laughter, and the smell of fresh tacos. Lines stretched out the lot. The entire place was packed. That's when I heard it. A shouting voice near the entrance. This place is a joke. I turned. Emily. And she was drunk. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smudged, and her expensive designer dress was wrinkled like she had been crying in her car before walking in. Mom was right behind her, grabbing her arm. Emily, stop this. This isn't. Emily ripped away from her. I can't believe you think you're better than us, she screamed. Look at you. You're a mechanic playing businessman. A few customers turned, pulling out their phones. I smiled. Perfect. I walked toward her, keeping my voice calm. Emily, leave. She stumbled closer. You think you're a big shot now, huh? You think you're better than us? I smirked. I don't have to think it. I just am. Her face twisted with rage. You're nothing. Nothing. And then, splash. I didn't even see it coming. She had grabbed a drink off a random customer's table and threw it at me. A wave of cold beer hit my chest. The entire lot went dead silent. A second later, 2 of my security guards tackled her to the ground. The crowd erupted in gasps and whispers. Mom screamed. Let her go. She's your sister. I brushed my soaked shirt and turned to my head of security. Call the cops. Emily's eyes widened in horror. What? No. Logan, don't. I crouched down, lowering my voice. Actions have consequences. 10 minutes later, blue and red lights flashed across the lot. Mom was hysterical. You're ruining the family name, she shrieked. I just laughed. Lady, you did that all on your own. Emily was put in the back of the cop car, crying, begging. She looked just like I did, all those years ago, when they humiliated me. But unlike them, I didn't care. Mom turned to me, her voice shaking. This is your sister. Do something. I crossed my arms. Oh, you mean like how you did something when you gave me nothing and laughed in my face? She had no answer for that. I turned, walking back toward my customers. Oh, I called over my shoulder. Hope the beach house is worth it. And then I went back to my thriving business. They wanted to watch me fail? Now they had front row seats to my success. After Emily's drunken meltdown and arrest, I thought they'd finally get the message. I was wrong. A week later, Mom and Dad showed up at my business again. This time, they weren't smug. They weren't laughing. They looked desperate. I was in the middle of a meeting with my event planner when I spotted them hovering near the entrance, awkward and out of place. For years, I had been the one feeling small around them, never enough, never worthy. Now, I was the one in control. I finished my meeting, let them wait a little longer, then finally walked over, arms crossed. You're back, I said, keeping my tone casual. Let me guess, Emily sent you because she's too embarrassed to face me? Dad cleared his throat. We need to talk, Logan. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, like the talk we had when you laughed in my face and handed me a piece of garbage while giving Emily a mansion. Mom pursed her lips. This isn't about the past. I chuckled. Oh, it's about the past. Because if you hadn't treated me like dirt, you wouldn't be standing here begging me for help. Her eye twitched, but she forced a calm expression. We're in trouble. I already knew. Emily had maxed out her credit cards trying to keep up appearances. Her beach house was on the verge of foreclosure because she had refinanced it 3 times to fund her influencer lifestyle. And Dad's business was bleeding money because the economy crashed and his trusted business partners bailed on him. They were sinking. And now, I was their only lifeline. Dad exhaled. Logan, we're family. And family helps each other. I burst out laughing. That's rich. You didn't care at all about family when you screwed me over. Now that you're broke, suddenly, it's about family. Mom stiffened. You have more than enough to help us. Why are you being so spiteful? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Spiteful? Oh, no. Spiteful would be me buying your house just to kick you out of it. Their eyes widened. Dad's face paled. You wouldn't. I smirked. Wouldn't I? Because here's the thing. I had been waiting for this moment. After Emily's meltdown, after their petty sabotage attempts, I knew they'd come crawling. So I made a backup plan. While they were busy drowning in debt, I had been buying property, expanding. And guess what? Their house, our childhood home, the bank had listed it for sale. And I had bought it. Mom's face went white. No, she whispered. You're lying. I pulled out my phone, scrolled, and held up the email confirmation. Logan Reed, new property purchase confirmed. Dad's hands shook. You bought our house? He croaked. I tilted my head. You mean the house you told me wasn't my home anymore? The one where you let Emily treat me like garbage? Mom grabbed my arm. Please, Logan. We'll do anything. Just don't take our home. I pulled away. Now you understand what it feels like to have something ripped away. She started crying, but I didn't care. And then, the final blow. I looked between them and took a deep breath. You know what? I said slowly. I'm not heartless. I'll give you the house. Mom gasped. You will. Dad let out a shaky breath of relief. I smirked. Sure. On one condition. They both nodded frantically. Anything. I took out a pen and paper from my pocket, a contract I had already prepared. I'll let you live in it, but I own it. And you will pay me rent. Every single month. No delays. Mom's jaw dropped. Logan, you can't be serious. I leaned in. Oh, I'm deadly serious. Dad swallowed hard. How much? I named my price. It was high. Very high. More than fair for the market, but high enough that they'd feel the weight of it every single month. Mom's face twisted in horror. You're charging us to live in our own home. She spat. No, I said with a grin. I'm charging you to live in my home. Silence. Dad exhaled. We don't have a choice, do we? I shrugged. Of course you do. There are plenty of cheap motels in town. Mom glared at me, but she knew she had lost. Slowly, with trembling hands, Dad signed the contract. Mom snatched the pen, digging it into the paper so hard I thought she'd tear it. When they finished, I took the contract, folded it neatly, and slid it into my pocket. Pleasure doing business with you. I turned, leaving them standing there. Dad slumped against the wall, rubbing his temples. Mom wiped her tears, her face a mask of pure humiliation. They had spent their entire lives belittling me, laughing at me, treating me like I was nothing. Now, I own their home. I own their future. I own them. And as I walked back into my business, I smiled. They thought I'd be nothing? Now I owned everything. And they had nothing.